Hello and welcome back to the Reapers. Today we're in our lovely Mig-19P and we're going to be doing the cockpit tour. So this is where we scan from left over the main dash all the way down to the right and we go over all the controls. Now this is a high fidelity model. This means 99+% of the controls and buttons and stuff are interactive, either passively or actively. So there's a lot of stuff to do. In terms of complexity, it's not particularly complex if you're used to driving things like the A10C, KA50, stuff like that. So it's kind of medium, I'd say. I've got my star with me today.
Hello.
So I guess we'll get started. As ever, as per protocol, we'll go to the back left. I'm just going to have a little look round. See what's clickable. None of this is clickable. None of this is clickable. The first thing I can see is a big dial at the top, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is that setting up the radar warning, the radar altimeter warning.
Exactly. It's the safe altitude for the radar altimeter, and the second setting, which is K, would be a self-test where the radar altimeter turns to 100, then slowly decreases, and in the end you'll get a little warning tone, so don't get surprised when you hear it.
Right. Okay, that's fine. It's actually it's quite useful. Okay, next down there's a doodah, a pitot tube selector. We've got, what options do we have? We have...
It's a main and a backup pitot, it's pretty straightforward.
Roger, and it is not unheard of for your pitot tube to fail. I don't know how it can fail, it's just a hollow tube with a two pressure sensors, isn't it? I don't know why. Anyway,
icing would be one option.
Yeah.
Maybe if the heating system fails, for example, you would have to switch over to your... But it also don't forget, the question is not only how likely is it, but how critical is the failure, and losing your speedo kind of sucks.
Agree. You know what I would do if I lost my speed? I would open the canopy and put my hand out, and that's how I'd measure the speed. Also, if we had a bird and its bird's head went in there, that could happen. Okay, right. Excellent consumer information from the Grim Reapers. Let's go down. We've got a turny-whirny knob. It's going to be... I'm not looking at it. It's going to be oxygen. It's going to be oxygen.
Oxygen valve, yeah.
I knew it. So... yeah.
Work on that. You have some more oxygen controls where it says mix and auto. So the mix thing, if it's at 100% O2, you're getting pure oxygen. If it's on mixed, then it will automatically dilute it. As long as the auto setting on the right side is on auto. If it's on end, then it will just keep the last setting it had. And if you flip it all the way down towards you, then it's off.
I get that. I mean, a lot of planes have got this or something very similar. Why would you ever want 100% O2? You're going to get high.
I think in emergency situations, you might need that. Like if you actually get into combat, keep a clear head.
Interesting. Viewers, if anyone knows why that's interesting, something doesn't quite make sense for that me. Anyway, let's carry on. Ooh, Cap could do this. Flaps, landing flaps, that's full flaps. Takeoff flaps, which is, I guess you call them half flaps, and fully retracted. And out of interest, and this may, this is early release we've got at the moment, it's just been released, things will change. But I have a problem with some of these flaps in that I do actually press the buttons down here rather than having a HOTAS bind. Of course, I enjoy pressing those big knobs. But I find that you can put one on, and it goes on, and you can go flying along, you can check down later, and it's turned itself off. Have you ever had that?
Yes. So far I can really only speculate what that is. It seems to actually cycle through the buttons. Like if you just punch landing flaps, it'll get to takeoff and retracted flaps immediately after. My best guess is that it's kind of a safety feature, but I don't think it's actually part of the aircraft. It might have something to do with the fact that some of the pilot's actions that would usually be kind of automated are actually simulated for you, so you don't have to do it manually in this aircraft. So you'll notice when you retract your key lever, it will automatically recenter afterwards.
Yes, it does.
When you close the canopy, you will automatically have it locked, and the seals will get pressurized automatically. You won't have to do that manually.
I agree. I had a very embarrassing crash the other day when I did use this in the mission for the first time. I was on the circuit. I was on about 350 clicks, which is a bit slow, I know, but it's not stall speed. And the thing just fell out of the air and died. And I checked the replay, and my flaps had turned themselves off. I was like, "Thanks, aeroplane. Now I'm dead." But anyway.
You're going to be careful about that. If you're not sure whether you have the right flap deployment speed, I think, then you'd have to just check it and just have a look at the buttons to make sure whenever you do try.
Now, whenever I'm doing my circuits, I'm just look left, look left, look left. Always keep making sure that thing's not turned itself off.
I think as long as it's down properly and it stays down, it will stay down. But when you put in the flaps, then check and make sure it actually stays.
Okay, it needs more investigation. Right, let's jump up.
There is, by the way, also a flap reset button. It's kind of between the.
I saw that.
The front two.
Does that just pop it out? Let's have a look. Yeah, it does. It just takes it out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Right, let's move on. We've got the what would you call this? Master Weapon Selector. Reminds me of the F-86F Sabre. Very similar, actually. I've had a quick play on a mission, but so we can select rocket pods. We can only select one weapon at a time, and that includes the gun. Is everything? I haven't tested everything out. Is everything driven by the main trigger, by the way?
Yeah, there is actually a bomb pickle in the keybinds, but it doesn't work. You do still drop bombs with the trigger.
Okay, interesting. That's very Russian and okay. Something I've got to bear in mind. So why is that bomb pickle in there? That's weird. That scares me a bit, but okay, fine.
Yeah, I think there's several keybinds in there because they probably just took keybinds from one of the aircraft and didn't sort everything out.
Probably just took off the Harrier or whatever. Okay, fine. Bomb. So obviously rocket pods. Have you seen if there's any way to ripple rockets, or is there any armament panel to ripple them or ripple bombs, or is it literally just drop singles? Everything super simple.
Bombs have two different options. I mean, you only can carry 2 bombs anyway, so you can drop them either. And that is done with the selector in the bottom right. It's manual and auto, and release next to it.
Yeah.
One thing to be aware of: the manual actually states these functions in the wrong order.
That's a surprise.
So it says that manual is singles and auto is pairs, but from what I've seen, it's actually the other way around.
Well, Josh, I mentioned that early release at the moment. We're currently in mid-March 2019 doing this, just in case things change. Bombs, NR30, a couple of excellent 30mm cannons. Have you had a play? Really nice cannons.
Yeah, very nice.
Have you worked out how much ammo they got? I've yet to find out.
73 each. Apparently, they should be able to carry up to 90. But you don't usually get that low.
I was really looking forward to having a decent gun, and now we've got no ammo. That is so depressing.
No, I actually did a bit of math. So the NR30s, they fire at 900 RPM, and with 73 rounds, that gives you, I think, just under 4.9 seconds of firing time.
Okay, take your word for it. Guided missiles. These are going to be the Sidewinder Bravos, aren't they? So they're going to be crap, but we'll cover them.
A2 ATOLs or R3Ss.
Well, those. Okay, I'll go over that another day. Right. So, what's the difference between manual and auto release? It doesn't have CCRP, obviously. So, what is?
No, that's one thing I talked about earlier. It's single or pairs. So, manual would be pairs, and auto is singles. A lot of manuals states it the other way.
Okay, fine. Sounds like a translation error to me, but okay, fine. We've got gun sight is optical or radar. Now that interests me. Something you can do with a radar gun.
Yeah, so that's for air-to-air. Whether you want to range find manually or use the radar for range find.
Interesting. So that we're going to go through. Right, let's head right. We've got air start system. Now, does this mean starting the engines in the air?
Yeah. Start system.
Right, so that we're going to have to do a video on that to show how to do that. Okay, fine. That, and then we've got the main start buttons here. You press and hold them for 3 seconds, I believe, for each engine. Get rid of them. Now let's go north. Those lights. Not sure what we're looking at here. There's lots of lights in a row.
Those are rocket counters. So when the green light above 0 is on, that just means your rocket circuits are powered and functioning, and all the rest up to 8. I think it actually goes up to 9 for some reason, although you only get 8 rockets. Our rocket counters per site, that is. The night-day switch doesn't actually work from what I've seen. So presumably you should just change the brightness.
Yeah, roger. Okay, that's fine. Right.
And to the top left of that, you actually have what you asked about, is your rocket salvo selector. So auto will just ripple off everything as quickly, reasonably quickly.
Yep.
1 arrow will fire 1 rocket per pod, and 4 will fire 4 rockets per pod. And you don't actually need to hold the trigger down for that, it'll just keep firing it, even if you just tap it.
Interesting, yeah, understood. Okay. We've got night and day, referring to radar screen's brightness, question mark?
Yeah, exactly, that is your radar screen brightness. That also needs to be reversed, by the way, because night is bright and day is dim. You do also have the dimmer knob to the right of that, but that's not the brightness of the actual radar screen. That's the brightness of like the artificial horizon that's shown in the radar and the symbol.
Understood. We should make a note at this point that at the time of making this video, lots of stuff in the manual does not marry up to the cockpit, and the cockpit doesn't marry up with the cockpit. So stuff is the wrong way around. Like that is night mode and that is day mode. So just bear in mind that that may change obviously as Razbam go and fix stuff. So just take a note of that. Okay, we're going to go north again, and let me have my guess. It is radar control, maybe?
Yep, that is exactly what it is. So in the top left you have an anti-jamming mode. Basically, if you have a jamming target, you'll just see a bunch of vertical lines of your screen, and if you turn on the jamming mode, it'll help with that a little bit. It's not particularly great, but it helps.
Hang on, Star, what was jamming in 1955? Nothing.
I don't know, apparently some things. I mean, there's an instant action mission actually, where you try to shoot down a B-52, and that thing was actually jamming when I tried that.
Interesting. A bit of history I wasn't aware of. I didn't know they had jammers, and that was 1952 onwards. Interesting. Okay, fine. Anti-jam.
I mean, this could be a retrofit. Don't forget about that. It's not like they
this is a Papa version as well, isn't it? This isn't technically a 1955 model.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Below that is something called control.
Yeah, so that's a built-in test for the radar, where it will just it will generate a target that moves over the radar screen, eventually gets locked on, and you can basically see all the functions.
Sure. Okay, is this a pressure gauge for the coolant?
Negative. I'm not sure there actually is coolant for that, but it is a pressure gauge. And according to the manual, it is an air pressure gauge for the waveguide, so like the air pressure inside the waveguide of the radar. I'm frankly not 100% sure what exactly that means, since I'm not entirely sure how exactly this radar is constructed, but that's what it is.
Okay.
Also, there is a secondary mode for it. If you flip the switch to the right of it, that says press and crystal on the top to crystal, then it's instead of voltmeter for the radar.
Interesting. Right, beautiful internet people who are watching, who are smart. Can you explain about this pneumatic pressure regarding the waveguide? Because that is beyond the Grim Reapers, I can tell you that. How interesting. I'd like to know some more about that, if people know about that. Okay. And did you say crystal was the voltage?
That's voltage, yeah.
Okay. Right. Weird. Horizon up and down. Now, let me get this right. Does this change the radars? Does this gimbal the radars come on, horizon line?
Yeah, so the radar basically is kind of like your own mini ADI in there.
Yes, it is. It's gimbal mounted.
And you can adjust it like that.
Gimbal's the wrong word. It's, it's like the ADI.
I mean, pointing the radar up and down.
Oh, is that what it does? Is it at radar elevation? Is that what it does?
I don't think so, to be honest.
The reason I asked this, I recently done a video on the F5 radar. So the F5 radar is mounted like an ADI, okay? So if I put my nose down, it automatically heads up the horizon, okay? And the horizon is always the horizon. And I can manually adjust that horizon where it kind of ADIs to be plus or minus degrees or whatever. And I'm thinking that's what that is with the word horizon there. Interesting. Okay, I think we'll have to try that out and see how that goes.
Yep.
Okay, lock antenna. I don't understand what that means.
Well, one thing that's pretty interesting about this aircraft is it actually has two radar antennas.
Where are they? Where is the radar, Star? What is it? Is it a dish? Is it a...
Those, I mean, like every radar.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the actual radar looks like. I didn't look that up.
Can't be very big, but okay. So that's what that thumping chunk is in there. Okay.
Yeah, basically, you have two radars. One of them is basically a search radar, and the other one is a tracking radar. So it's kind of like a SAM or something. Which gives it an interesting little functionality where this has kind of sorta early shitty track while scan. So you can lock something and you'll actually still see other targets on your radar.
That's interesting. That sounds ahead of its time, or it sounds accidental, I don't know. Okay, fine. We'll go through this all properly in a radar video. Right, standby is just on and off, is it?
Yeah, it's the radar main mode. So off would be off. Well, bottom would be off. That is. Center is standby, and top would be on. It does need a couple minutes, like 2-3 minutes to warm up and stand.
So standby is on, but no emissions. Okay, right. Making slow progress.
Also, you won't get any emission while on the ground, or as long as the gear is extended. That is.
So we don't fry people's radiation cancer heads. Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's taken a long time to get over this little panel, but it's all been interesting stuff. That's the thing about these 1950s jets, because we've caught technology just as it's being developed, and you can kind of see how it's being developed step by step. Whereas if you jump into an F-15, you've gone all the way to the front end, and it's really hard to understand at that point. Anyway, right, should we do the throttle quadrant? We've got left throttle, right throttle, obviously. On the right throttle, we've got a turny wheel, which does in the F-86 Sabre a radar ranging, and in the MiG-15, doesn't it?
It's not radar ranging, it's basically just gun-sight ranging, yeah. That's the same thing. You do also have a little latch on top which locks the throttles together, a push-to-talk button on the right side, as well as the air brake switch, and 2 shut-off latches at the bottom. And in the front right bottom of the throttle, you will see 2 buttons that say nominal and M-Power. So nominal just shuts off the afterburner, and M-Power enables the afterburner again.
And then modal, aren't they? You press them and that's it, it's done.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now I didn't get that push to talk button when I was doing my radio. I looked for it, but I couldn't find that when I was doing my radio guide. So I had to tell to use the comms menu. That's very frustrating. I have to go and redo that now. Okay, never mind. Right, so we go to the side wall. We've got the right. How do we explain this style? The ADF automatic direction finding. If you can have 2 channels set at a time, and regards the near channel that you can set, you can change the frequency band here. And for some reason I can't do it at the moment because reasons.
I think you need to flick the switch to near, otherwise it doesn't work.
Still doesn't work for me, but okay. It does work. It does work when it's the engine started anyway, because I've done a video on it. Okay, so that's that. Why it's over here and not over here with the ADF? Don't know. You guys tell me. No idea. That's weird, but that's there. Okay.
Probably make the cabling easier or something.
Oh, and it says near, and it is a near, and in the manual it says far, so that will confuse you. Just be careful with that. Okay. Next is a red thing. I haven't seen this yet. It is a...
Yeah, that's your Jettison for the brake chute.
Do you mean that deploys it, or it literally jettisons it?
No, that jettisons it. So, once you're done, once you just want to get rid of it, that's what you put.
Yeah, understood, okay. Little one here. Warning button. What the hell is that?
Yeah, frankly, I have no idea. The manual just completely glances over that. It's not even mentioned.
Well, there you go. Then we go up. We've got short ARU man. What the hell is that?
Yeah, so the ARU is a system that you'll also find in the MiG-21. You may remember that. Which reduces your elevator sensitivity depending on your airspeed and your altitude.
Yeah.
And it generally does this automatically. You see on the right side where it says man, that would be manual mode if you flick that switch down. Then you would have to do that manually, which would be a pain, but if it fails you might have to. On the left side where it says short arm, on the top you would see, unsurprisingly, long arm. Long arm would mean you have full control over the elevator, while short arm limits it as much as possible. So that would be generally only engaged above 900 kph.
Do you know what short arm actually refers to? Is it a physical thing, like there's an actual short arm and long arm lever, control lever or something in the system?
Yeah, I think so. It just limits the amount of play it has, the amount of travel it has.
Interesting. Okay, fine. Right, then we go to some, what we call these circuit breakers. They're not circuit breakers. They're just master switches.
Well, I mean, just above that, we could still quickly talk about the fact that there's a big ass floodlight.
And that's controlled by these knobs over here. And they're bloody useful because it's a dark cockpit otherwise.
Also, if you do close your canopy,
Roger, we go for the pressure switch.
Yeah. Well, and the locking lever, although only the right one seems to be interactable for some reason.
Correct. So we've got the pressure seal switch. Can you find it? I can't find it now. There it is. So,
yeah, so basically,
which way is pressurized? Is forward pressurized?
Forward is pressurized, yeah. At least according to the manual, and it's hard to actually check it, since it doesn't seem to be modeled to an extent where you can actually lose consciousness. But basically, what this does, it just inflates the seals that seal off the canopy.
Oh, and I can see some pneumatic valves here. Well, I guess.
Yeah, and the big lever in front would just be a canopy locking lever, so I think forward would be locked for that. Yeah. Again, it does this automatically once you shut the canopy anyway.
So if one of those lines got hit by a bullet or something, then this would depressurize. Ugh, ugly.
Possibly.
Okay, and then to lock the canopy shut, because it's always a good idea to lock a canopy, I find, you press this little dude. Pew, pew. Okay, that's fine. I don't want it closed. I feel claustrophobic. Open. Right, next we're going to go on to some switches. It's slightly difficult for me because they're hidden behind the floodlight. First of all, is emergency disk M power afterburner. Disable afterburners left and right?
Exactly, yeah. And the next ones would be emergency oil cut-offs for the engine.
Okay, emergency. What would cut your own oil off? Is that because of fire?
Presumably, yeah. So just to not fuel any fire.
Okay, that's fine. And fuel tank fire extinguishing system. So
power to the fire extinguisher system. That's not the actual fire extinguisher switch. But
I remember now. Yeah, and then the ignition system. So these are just modal. You'll just want these turned on at all times, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's actually kind of interesting. For some reason, the fire extinguisher system does not have to be turned on in a hot start. I'm not sure why that would be to be.
Okay. Right, I'll do the radio quickly. So you've got preset channels 1 to 6, which are only changeable in the mission editor. You've got radio and radio compass. At the time of making this video, that switch is the wrong way round, so that is radio compass and that is radio. We've got disable squelch. So on, it disables the squelch sound. Off, it does not disable the squelch sound. We think it might be the wrong way around. We're not sure. We've had some problems working this switch with the radio, so I'm not totally sure about that yet. Volume
might just be work in progress.
Yeah, probably. Volume control there. Right, next we've got some things. I haven't seen this yet. Aileron hydraulics on or off. Okay. I'm going to want them
so those would be your hydraulic aileron boosters.
No,
you could fly it without.
I don't remember turning them on in the cold start sequence.
No, they're just always on.
Right, and you'd want to turn them off if you had a hydraulics leak? Question mark.
Presumably, yeah.
Okay, aileron.
It's going to be less responsive then, but it's still flyable. And you do have the elevator equivalent of that, 2 switches to the front of that.
Yep.
Which says stop control system. Hydraulic system is the standard that it should be on.
Yep.
And the MUS-2 is a backup electrical system that you can use if the hydraulics fail. Then you just flip that.
Sorry, this is for stay. Which control surface is this? I'm having a moment.
That's for elevators or for your
horizontal stabilizers, elevators. Okay, right. Okay, that's interesting. Then you got the actual aileron trimmer there. Okay.
Technically, if you want to get back into that, stabilators because they are entirely movable.
They're stabilators because they're entirely movable. They would only be elevons if they were on the back of a Mirage, back of a wing. Is that right?
If you didn't have like separate ailerons, and it would just be elevator and aileron in one go, then I think the Viking would also be an example.
Understood. Okay, let's go up to the side panel. We've got left and right red engine fuel cutoff valves.
Fire extinguisher, fuel cutoff valves, and in front of that you do have your fire extinguisher button.
Where's that? Sorry. Oh, the fire extinguisher, right?
Yep. Okay, and underneath that you do have a red warning light, a fire warning light, and the test button.
Just go. That. Okay. We've got lamp control tanks. What the hell?
Yeah, so if you look to the right of that, or forward of that, there's 2 green lights. Those correlate to your fuel tanks number 2, 3, and 4. You do have 4 fuel tanks in this aircraft, but really only number 1 is going to carry the, most of your fuel. 2, 3, and 4 are pretty small. They're just kind of like stuffed in there where they had space, I suppose. And those green lights will come on when the respective tank is empty. So the front one would be for your fuel tank number 2. You can actually, by the way, see above your fuel tank pump switches. It's correlates underneath what switch it is. And the aft one is for both the 3 and 4 tanks.
Now that comes back to a question I'm going to ask. So the fuel, if we skip to the fuel gauge quickly,
yes.
When that gets down to about 12, which is about 90%, right? If I check my armament screen, it's actually about 30% of gas I've got left. It's like it only measures the bottom quarter or something. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like almost
It only measures tank number 1, but it seems like that would be a bit excessive. I think tank number 1 has about 1400 liters capacity, if I recall correct.
Well, alright, we'll do a test in that in a bit, but that's fine.
But, I mean, I can look it up again. It is entirely possible that it doesn't go all the way up. The MiG-15, for example, doesn't.
Well, I'll tell you what, while we're sitting here doing nothing, I will defuel to 50% and we'll do a little test. I'm going to go to 30%.
Request refuel.
Right, let's carry on while we're going. So we've got more switches. We've got anti-skid, which is just always going to be on, isn't it? Unless you're a crazy man.
Yep. Then there's your flight instrument and cockpit heating system. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And the other 4 switches in front are just your fuel pumps.
They're the fuel pumps.
4, 3, 2, and 1.
And you'll definitely want them on. I can tell you that. Right, next we've got a sorry, it's defueling now, and the gauge is not going down. I'm defueling, and the gauge is not going down. So I was right. This only measures the bottom quarter or something.
Well, the thing is, I think technically this is one of these fuel gauges that you would have to set manually. I mean, you won't have to; it will do it automatically. But I think when you are using those will only set once once you've finished the fuel.
There's no knob. No, I think I have to disagree. It is going down now, but only once we below a certain point. So let's see what point we're at the moment.
There is a knob, but it's at the bottom left. You just can't interact with it.
It is definitely automated. As the fuel goes down, so I've set 30%. Let's see what number it comes up with. Hopefully not 4, otherwise I'll be disproved.
Refueling complete.
Okay, I am at 29%, and it is at 6,500. So at 50% is actually see. This is why I keep running out of fuel. 29% is actually 50%. So it's showing half of the fuel on the aeroplane, Star. That's what it's showing.
Well, no, I mean this only measures fuel tank 1. Although it seems a bit excessive because, as far as I recall, the 2, 3, and 4 tanks are pretty small. But
right. Okay. Well, in total, we have to remember then when that gauge shows half, we have to remember that actually that means 29% of total fuel.
I mean, one thing to keep in mind: your bingo light, so to speak, will come on at 550 liters.
Wow.
So that'll probably be a good time to go home.
550 or 5,000. Oh, this is time 100. Right, yes. I thought this was 1,000. God, this carries jack shit. No wonder I ran out in that dogfight. Okay, right. Ugly. Okay, anyway, we should carry on. Next, we've got a switch I haven't looked at yet, which is signal. Signal flare dispensing on. So that turns.
Yep.
And do you get 1 flare per colour?
Yep.
See if we can make one come out. Oh, we can't. But then we can signal a yellow, green, red, or. Oh, so why have we got these when we've got a goddamn bloody radio? Is this just legacy shit?
Well, radios, first of all, can fail. And other than that, there might be operations during which you want to keep radio silence to not be detected. So that's what you generally use those for.
Good answer. This is before encryption, wasn't it?
You'll find this stuff. Well, I mean, even encrypted messages might be able to get detected, even if they can't decrypt it. So it'll still not get there somewhere.
Interesting.
You'll find these actually on a lot of Russian aircraft.
Yeah.
Like Mig-15 has it. I think Mig-21 might have it. Mi-8 has it.
K-50 has it. Yeah. Okay. It's just a thing.
Mi-8 actually gets 2 sets.
Wow. Just in case. Okay. Fine. Right. We're going to go up from the radio panel. We've got a gauge there that I can't figure out. Pressure gauge. Is it oxygen?
Oh, that's oxygen, and then the bottom center is your oxygen flow indicator.
Bottom center.
Yeah, you know, the little kind of sort of oval things.
Oh yeah, just goes on and off, doesn't it? Yeah, right, got you.
Yeah.
Okay, landing gear lever. That's actually quite an interesting one. So it's down. No, sorry, right. I think you're going to have to describe this, Charles. I don't think I can do it.
Well, basically it has 3 positions. Down is down, up is up, and then it has the center neutral position, which just makes sure you don't have constant pressure on the lines. Also, I think
a lock.
Not too. Yeah, I think it also has something to do with the fact that you'll automatically have brakes on while you're retracting it, and you don't constantly want the brake pressure on. It does have a lock as well, so you don't accidentally retract it on the ground. From what I've seen so far, you do not actually have to open that, unlike the MiG-21.
Yeah,
it's one of these things. It just does automatically for you.
Okay. And it automatically, once you've raised the gear, the good thing is it automatically shuts itself back to neutral, which the MiG-21 doesn't do.
Yeah, neither does the MiG-15.
And you screw your hydraulics up. If it's the real thing to think about. So why they reverted back to that, I don't know. But all right, fair enough. Aileron trimmer neutral. Oh, I could do this one. Whoops. The Russian planes have a green light if their trims are in neutral. It's just it's a Russian legacy thing, I think. Even the flankers have got it.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, the MiG-15 doesn't have an aileron one; it just has an elevator one, and that's white, for example. But generally, they like their trim neutral light.
Okay, we've got our gear control panel, or our services control panel. So
underneath, there's still a lamp test button, but that is currently not functional from what I
know. Yeah, Roger. So green lights gear down, red lights gear up. I can't remember what these other little monkeys are. That's going to be a speed brake in there, isn't there? Those little.
Yeah, I think speed brake is bottom right if I recall correctly. Flaps would be center right, and on the top, that just tells you when your gears are retracting or extending.
Okay. Canopy something anti-ice.
It's a Canopy quick de-ice. Yeah, so while you hold it down, it should just heat up the windshield so you can.
Okay, fine. Right, let's go up and do this little panel here. So this switches between your ADF programmed stations. We've got a video on that. Brake parachute. Is that to open?
Brake chute, yeah.
Oh my god. That was embarrassing. Okay. Is that yes? Is that an explosive? Because that just came out with. But that must be pneumatic pressure, mustn't it? It just shot out like a.
I mean, I'm not sure how exactly it works, but it could well be any sort of charge.
Or could it be spring loaded? Couldn't it? You know, you see the way they have to kind of push it in. It seems a bit. Nah, it won't be spring loaded. Well, it could be. Well, anyway, emergency jettison bombs or tanks. So if you've got bombs or fuel tanks, jettison them. Presumably they're dud at that point and not armed? Question mark.
I think you should be able to arm them first as well.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a separate arming.
Okay.
I've not tested whether that works.
Okay, this annoys me. Canopy cannons reload. You got left and right cannon. You have to press and hold for a few seconds to load the cannon, and that bugs me a bit. Surely that should be done by the ground crew. You're not gonna. Why does your pilot have to remember to press these and hold these buttons down? I'm
not sure whether this one might actually be able to be used to clear jams, because in contrary to the MiG-21s, this is a little bit boring comparatively because it doesn't use explosives, but pneumatic pressure as far as I recall.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Fine, okay. This gets rid of your jettison, your rocket pods, obviously, jettison. Right, we've got some switches that for me are going to be hard to get down to. I see 10, 30 and 100%. Oh, nav lights. Yeah,
for position 10, 30, 100 and off.
Roger.
And to the right of that is your landing and taxi light. So up is landing, down is taxi, and central.
Yeah, Roger. Right. Now we've got something to the right here. It says landing, front gear, brake, but I can't really get to it. It doesn't actually look like a thing. Is it a thing?
No, that's just the writing that goes with your nose wheel brake switch.
Okay,
it's directly underneath the big black thing.
Oh, right.
I'm a bit confused about why they wrote it like that, because it really doesn't make it obvious which way is which.
Doesn't it at all,
yeah, so if it's in the horizontal position, your nose wheel brake is on.
Yeah. So
you'd use that for generally takeoff and landing, and while it's down, it's off. You'd use it for taxi.
Understand that. Okay, that's fine. If we go north, then we've got this is the radar. This is the gun range, isn't it?
Not only gun range for the gun side in general, or also when you are in radar mode, it will give you a range to a locked target.
Okay, we'll cover that.
Up to 2,000 meters. So it's in...
Yeah, 2,000, yeah. Okay, we'll go over that. That's a long way. It's 1.6 miles. Okay. Accelerometer, something I can do. Right, up to 10G. Good luck with that. And minus 5G.
Structural limit of the aircraft is 8.
Structural limit of the aircraft is 8G. Ooh, I can see myself exceeding that. Right, okay, fine. Do we have G suits in this thing? Oh, surely we must have. Must have. Let's have a look.
Probably, I think so. I think early G suits were already around in like MiG-15s and Sabres, if I'm not wrong.
They weren't in the MiG-15 style. That was the big thing that separated the MiG-15 and the F-86. They couldn't get above 6G. Anyway, central. And does it have a static recorder needles or just?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, that's fine. So you can check on that. Right. gun sight. Where do we go? So cage decay. So is this? Am I saying this is a gyro-driven gun sight?
Exactly.
Okay, and we can cage it. In which case, which is when we want to go into a dogfight, or any time we're going to be doing harsh manoeuvres of any kind, really. And uncage is when we're actually going to use it for a non-dogfight. So shooting down a bomber is when we're going to turn it on, basically, isn't it? Uncage it. Do not try and uncage it for a dogfight because you'll kill the gyro system. That's one thing I've learned.
You can actually. There is a button on the stick that I recommend you bind at some point,
Is it a brake?
which intermittently cages the gun sight just by holding.
Roger. I better go and write that down. Do you know what the name of that command is, please?
It's called ASP-5 Reticle Temporary Cage.
Temp cage. Yeah, that reminds me of the. So if we're going to do a hard mover, so if we're doing a dogfight with Strahl, I'm going to have it uncaged by the sounds of it, or can have it uncaged. And then if I'm going to do a hard roll and a bank and a pitch, then I'm going to keep my finger on this cage button to keep it caged. Otherwise, I'll de-align it and kill it, basically. So that's okay. Fine. Right. Next, we've got.
Well, I mean, honestly, from what I've seen, you're not really going to kill it, at least not as it's currently modeled. But it, might just go off the screen, and you're going to end up without a gun sight, while you might be able to take a snap.
The thing is, in a real dogfight, you never want that uncaged. You're never following someone enough where you can have that on the screen. You're always pulling lead. That's my experience. So I just drive these things uncaged, these things caged, to be honest. But anyway, whatever I say, I'm going to be wrong, aren't I? So that's fine.
Well, I mean, I do for the most part as well, but that's also because I'm used to fixed gun sights.
Anyway, let's carry on. We've got a Wingspan Selector, which is in meters of the target, and it's got 11 selected, so that's presumably what it's going to be fighting. What would it be fighting? Super Sabres or something? Phantoms, maybe. Okay.
It goes from 7 to 70. I'm not sure why it actually goes all the way down to 0. The manual says not less than so.
Because it's shooting down a kite. Or up there, a B-52. Right, next, angle. Depression angle. Or depression, is it angle or millimeters? It says angle, so it's presumably angle. Down to 12 degrees. Not much more to say about that. That's what it does. Next, what's this turning knob? Brightness. Okay.
Brightness
of the reticle.
Exactly.
We've got the classic Mig-21 lock and brake here. Is that for gun?
Well, that is generally for everything you do with your radar. So lock will just tell you whenever you have a lock with your radar, and brake will tell you when you're getting too close. So I think generally that's about 800. Was it 800 meters? I'm not sure. Anyway, when you have the brake light, you need to be careful because if you don't fall back or break off after 3 seconds, you're just going to drop the lock automatically.
Roger, interesting. Okay. And we've got the same one with regards to the radar. So one's regard the gun sight, one's regard the radar, right?
Well, it's both for the radar. I think it's just to be more easily visible if you're not looking at the radar.
Okay, right, we'll go over that. We've got the radar screen here. We're going to do a video on it, so there's no point talking about it unless you specifically want to say anything small about it now.
Well, it's pretty simple. You can see the angle of deflection to the left and the right. You can see the range on the vertical line. It goes up to 12 kilometers.
Yeah.
And the little box at the bottom is the area where it can actually get a lock, so you need your target reasonably centered and within 4 kilometers. 12.
What's the bloody point, Stahl? I can see a plane easily at 12 kilometers. It's like... night
operations.
Right,
night operations, yeah.
Okay, it's impressive it can go to 120 degrees scan. That's impressed me. For a 1955 plane. Okay, fine. Okay, let's start doing the dash. Should be interesting. And now I find this dash a bitch. Some dashes are good, some are bad. For instance, the Skyhawk, beautiful dash, really good dash. And it more or less the sound time. It's a little bit later, obviously. But this dash, I find it horrible. I'm still getting confused where the speed of it. With a dash, you've got to look quickly. You don't have time to sit there staring at it. And seeing that speedo.
Briefly, while we're still at the gun sight area, one thing to mention that not everyone might know, you can remove that big ass gun can that's generally over the gun sight.
I've removed it.
You just have to go to the special settings. It makes the visibility quite a bit better.
So go to main menu, go to options, go to special, go to MIG, and you can take it off. It's just a big piece of crap that just spoils your view. Anyway, we're going to crack on because this is like the longest one we've ever done. So, dash, top left. I can't actually read it. 1 and 2 for what?
That's your radar. You have two different radar modes. So two would be the standard high altitude mode, where you have your search radar active and full range. One radar, the number one mode disables your search radar as far as I can see, and only leaves your tracking radar active, and it also somewhat decreases the range of your tracking radar from about 4 kilometers to 1.2 to basically help you with all the ground clutter you'd otherwise get.
Roger. South barometric. Yes, John.
And while we're at that, on the left of that, you can see a green light. It says Isomrud. So that apparently means emerald in Russian, which is the name of your radar. So that just means your radar is currently on and emitting.
Emerald radar. Okay. Barometric altimeter. What is thousands? What is hundreds?
Short finger is thousands on the inner scale. Outer scale with the long finger is hundreds of meters. And at the bottom, you can set your QFE in millimeters mercury.
Millimeters, because we're in a metric system now, aren't we? God, that's confusing. Right, okay. And it's very ambitious style. It goes up to 18,000 meters, which is like 60,000 feet or something. Good luck with that. Right, next let's go south. Ping, radar altimeter, question mark?
Yep, absolutely.
Can you know how I got that style? I read the Russian. I remember it from the SU-25. Yeah.
Meters altitude.
Beautiful. That's that. Then up north. Now, I mistakenly called this a HSI in my...
I think you missed something a little bit. At the bottom left, you still have your emergency brake.
What does that mean, emergency brake? Air brake or wheel brake? Wheel brake?
Wheel brake.
So what is it? Does that turn it into pneumatic then, or must be pneumatic emergency?
Well, I mean, you can actually just pull it out and flip it back in again. I think it's also partially an override for the anti-skid. Just shuts down on the brakes and doesn't let go anymore.
Be interesting to know what system that's linked to, but okay, fine.
I guess people were complaining that you didn't call it an RMI.
I'm sorry, what?
An RMI, radio magnetic indicator.
Right. So here's the thing. Right. Okay. So I called it a HSI. It's not a HSI. It's not a HSI. Okay, I understand that now. I called it a radio compass, but it is a radio compass, right? It's radio compass. What else is it?
Well, it's not exclusively a radio compass. It's a standard compass with a radio needle in.
Okay, it's a standard compass. So
if you look at the Mig-15, for example, that one also has a compass, and it has a specific RMI, which is radio compass, just for the idiot.
Hang on, so what does RMI mean?
RMI, radio magnetic indicator.
Radio magnetic indicator. I'm pretty sure that's... Okay, fine. So we're splitting hairs now, I think, Star. So it tells us which direction we're going. It tells us which direction the ADF system is pointing, the radio signal, and you can set a course line like thus. So you Yes?
Personally, I find the course line really weird and awkward to adjust for some reason.
Nonsense! It's one of the better ones. You mouse scroll with it.
Yeah, but it's... I don't know, it feels super slow.
I think
when you drag it around, it doesn't work properly if you really want to go.
Yeah, I know. A lot of the things in here don't, but use your mouse wheel.
Scrolling works perfectly fine, but I'm going to be scrolling half an hour to do a 180.
Okay, fine. And with this system, we can home into beacons at the end of the runway. We're using our course line. We can actually do a basic ILS. Oh no, I'm going to get told off. I said ILS. But it is kind of an ILS, and it is an instrument landing system. It allows you to land when you've got no visibility. Right? It's not IFR landing system. And I proved it because I've done it in my little vid. Well, I didn't do it very well, but anyway, let's carry on. We will enrage the internet. Right, next, Speedo in hundreds of... I'm sorry, what?
It's probably too late for that.
Yeah. Speedo. There's two needed. This is a good Speedo. This is a good... All aircraft should have the Speedo. Why, Sharp? Because it shows IAS and TS, doesn't it? It's really clever like that. So
technically, airspeed, not TS, slight difference.
Oh, give me strength. So it shows the two different speeds. If you don't know what the difference between IAS, true speed, ground speed, blah, 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 is, then we've got a cool video on that where we figured it out and showed it. And these different speeds it's really good to know them because knowing IAS, only IAS all the time, means you have to do conversions in your head to work out actually how fast you're going. And so it shows you both. That's cool. Now the red band, is that relevant to true speed or that's going to be IAS? No, it's going to be true speed it's relevant to, isn't it? Oh, I don't know now.
The red band is like danger area when you're getting really far.
Yeah, I know that, Star. I'm aware of that. But is it relevant to IAS or true speed is my question. Probably true speed, right? Right?
probably indicated because that's primarily responsible for, how much your airframe can take.
I think we have to agree to disagree on that one, Star. Chronometer.
Missed the button.
The alignment, yeah.
It's just the fast slave for the compass.
So it realigns the compass, is that right?
Yeah.
Roger. Okay, chronometer, and my big knob is in the way. So you got adjusters, and you've got stopwatch and stuff. Anything interesting about the chronometer you want to say?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. If you right-click on the bottom right thing, you'll start the stopwatch. If you click again, you'll stop it, and click again.
Yeah, cool. I don't think I've ever used a chronometer in this. I know I should do, but not milsim. Anyway, trimmer effect neutral. What's that for?
It's the same light you had on the left, except this is not for aileron, but for elevator trim. So as long as your elevator trim is neutral, this will.
One slightly annoying thing is this isn't set out that well, is it? I know this is not ergonomic. That should be with that, and that speedo shouldn't be there.
You could argue the case that your elevator trim is, generally speaking, much more critical than your aileron trim. I mean, first of all, you're going to feel the aileron trim.
Okay, I'd agree with that. But
you won't be checking that all that often. Well, for landing, for example, you might want to check, or particularly for takeoff, you might want to check whether your trim is neutral.
Okay, fine. ADI with adjuster and cage. The cage doesn't seem to work at the moment. I don't know if you agree with that. Anyway, it's probably going to be relevant by the time people watch this.
But I'm frankly not sure what
it's not quite working yet at the moment, but yeah. And it's an ADI. It tells you your attitude and roll, and you've got a slip gauge there. Your slip gauge there. Nothing to add to that. That's what it does, isn't it?
Yeah, the top left of that is also
it's a roll. No, it's a roll. Yeah, sorry. Doesn't matter. Cap was having a moment. Beacon light.
You mean on the ADI? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I was having a moment. Obviously, it's got a roll indicator.
Yeah. Bottom of the ADI. That's correct. Bottom left beacon light for when you fly over marker beacons. There's apparently three different frequencies for the bell, depending on whether you're flying over an outer, center, or inner beacon.
No, I wasn't aware of that. I've only managed to get one up, and I've tried outer and inner beacons, but I'll take one.
I was actually unaware of that as well, but according to the manual, that seems to be pretty standard.
Okay, right, now here's the next one, is where I get myself into trouble all the time. It's not a variometer, right?
Nope, because a variometer is just a glorified vertical speed indicator.
So what the hell is this? This is a rollometer? No, turnometer?
Well, this is just a turn slip gauge.
With
there was
turn slip gauge
for that, but I've got it now.
Okay, turn slip gauge. So that is the turn bit at the top, and that is the slip gauge down there. And yes, you always repeat the slip gauge on the ADI and this. We never really figured out why, but yeah, all planes seem to do that. Right, engines emergency air start system. Why have you got that down there?
Just tells you whether your air start ignition is currently on or not, so you don't forget to turn it off again because you don't want it constantly on. With the exception of, at least generally speaking for most aircraft, if you're flying into very bad weather, like thunderstorms and the like, then you just want continuous ignition.
Okay. We've got a classic white stripe there, so that's how you know when this knob is centered. We've missed one, Stahl. What's that? I can't quite get to it. It's the red bottom right of the ADI. It's a red light, but I can't see what it says.
Oh yeah, this one. This is your disconnect radar light. So the radar can actually overheat if you leave it on for too long. You're not supposed to operate it for longer than 15 minutes without giving it 1 minute of cooldown.
Oh.
And whenever it starts to overheat, then this light comes on and you want to turn it off.
So do you reckon that's why the MiG-21 was full of coolant?
Probably, yes.
Okay. Right, so, I mean, that's the big thing with radars, that F-14. Half of the weight of that F-14 2-ton radar was coolant, keeping the bloody thing cool. How do you anyway. Right, armament panel down below. We've got, let's do what I can do first. Ammo counter for the guns. That is literally, when I saw that first of all, I thought, that must mean about 700 bullets each. No, it is literally 70 bullets each.
That's a large caliber.
Friggin'
I mean, if you look at the Mig-19, for example, that has, I think, about 80 rounds in 23 mils each and 40 or so for the 37.
Useless weapon. Okay, fine. And then when they're armed and ready to go, they glow red, obviously. Next, exp. What's exp? Top left.
That's just your bombs arm fuse light. So whenever your bombs are armed and ready to go, then you control it with the switch.
Yeah, roger. Right. Suspended loads. Any idea? Does that mean you've just got loads on? Or?
Yeah, it's going to show you whether you have bombs on there, for example. So if you drop the bombs or fuel tanks, also you'll see those lights go off.
Roger. Top right green. Can't read that. Any idea?
It tells you that the external fuel tanks are empty.
Roger. We've got the wheel brake here. You can see you've got the left wheel brake, got the right wheel brake, and you've got differential. So if I turn the rudder left, you'd only get one wheel brake going. Whee! And then we've got a main hydraulics pressure gauge down the bottom, question mark. Star.
Booster hydraulics, not main hydraulics.
Booster. This is for the control surfaces.
Yes.
Roger. But it's main... Okay, I'm not going to go through it. Okay, Starly Wally, and I know you taught me this, but I've forgotten it. Little gauge, we're starting at the dash again at the top. Little gauge, I can never remember what it is. Go.
Yeah, I actually mixed it up in the video we did first anyway. That's your ARU gauge. So your ARU is the system I talked about that controls your elevator sensitivity at different speeds.
Yeah.
So that's related to speed and altitude. So if you're going high enough where the air is thinner, it loosens up a little bit again and gives you more freedom.
Roger.
But if you're low and fast, then you're going to be on short arm, so all the way up to 9 basically.
And it's a good system. There are a lot of planes out there that could really use this system, You're flying along at
Vegan,
yeah. You're flying along at Mach 1.3 on the ground. You just touch that elevator, boom, you're a dead man. You're so careful with it.
14 Ps.
Right, lamp control button. No, what the hell's that?
That's just a lamp check for the lamp to the right of it, which is your ARU system check light that tells you when it's in takeoff and landing position as the flag system.
Roger. Now, here's where I get myself in trouble again. Is this just a VSI?
Yes, that is just a VSI.
Well, it's just a vertical speed indicator. It tells you whether you're going up by that many meters per second question mark or down by that many meters per second question mark. Done. No mistakes so far, Stahl. This is excellent work.
Oh, well, we won't find out about that until we have posted it and read the comments.
That's true. I think we're doing very, very well. We're getting very good at this. Right, we go down south. Oh, I'm going to have
Mach meter.
Oh, damn it. You never let me guess.
Sorry.
Okay, fine. It's Mach meter. And why has it got a critical line at 0 point? Is that
it's transonic area. It's not critical, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And, the plane goes up to more or less Mach 1.3. I think we haven't tested it, but that's... yeah, fine.
I think Wikipedia said Mach 1.22, but I'm pretty sure I've had it at about Mach 1.3.
Yeah, the thing is different. You have to be a little bit careful when you're reading top speeds because everyone tests with different conditions on. Like, you can always go faster in DCS than you can in a real F-15, for instance, because we can run at 0% gas, so you can't do that in a real F-15. And yeah, anyway.
Yeah, one thing also is the flight model is still a bit work in progress. That is known it does accelerate a bit too well, for example.
It accelerates the same as an SU. I did test the same as an SU-33 with special afterburner motor. Obviously, it's not quite right, but well, whatever.
So that is something that is known and will hopefully be fixed.
We've got no boggle with it anyway. It's whatever, it's fine. Right. Anyway, fuel tank, and as we said, just that there is not 50%. That is 29%. So just be careful. Next, above that,
actually, you missed a little bit there. On the bottom of the fuel gauge, you do have a fuel flow indicator in hundreds of liters per hour, if I recall correctly.
Right.
It's the little gauge, the bottom of the fuel gauge.
So that's going to go up when afterburner's on, up to whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Engine core speed. Now, I didn't think they were these engines ran this fast. They run really fast, Charles. They run faster than car engines. These things are
jet engine. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, but they're 3 foot across. Think of those centrifugal, rotational momentum. It must be crazy forces in that engine.
Yeah, that's what the Germans in World II really struggled building jet engines because they just didn't have access to the materials they needed for the correct alloys that would actually withstand that, particularly at the high temperatures.
It's just going to break apart, aren't they? Melt. Anyway, you got 2 needles, 1 for each engine. Yeah.
And you can distinguish them, like in a MiG-21 I think it would say 1 and 2. Here you actually have Russian letters that are included in the actual finger. So the one that's further on the inside that kind of looks like an H where you just move the line upwards, that's a Russian P. which stands for, I think it's Bravo or something along those lines, which is right. And the one that has a slightly bent leg, that's an L, which is Russian Levo or something. I don't know, I don't like to speak Russian. That's your left engine.
Okay, fine. Next is Afterburner lights, question mark? Yeah, it's got to be.
Negative, that's actually military power, so when you reach military power...
That'd explain why I was having trouble with my afterburners, because that is not afterburner lights, that is military power. Right, understood. Right, that helps. Right, now you know what I'm going to call this next one, don't you, Charles? Because there is multiple gauges, and this is the variometer.
Well, I think you just triggered the entirety of the internet right there.
Fuck, well, what is it then?
The one on the top right?
Yes.
That's just engine exhaust gas temperature.
Yes, but there's multiple gauges per gauge. There's multiple gauges per gauge.
Yeah, but I think variometer more refers to that something, varies, something changes, rather than having multiple gauges.
Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, so these are... Oh, yeah, fine, okay. These are... Yeah, they're exhaust gas temperature for either one. They can go up to 700 before boom boom. That's what I've got to say on that, really. Okay, now, this panel I've not really understood. So I've got left and right, generators disconnect. So that means if one of those lights is on, the generator is not working, right? Is that right?
Yep.
And why... Okay, why would that happen? If you got shot by a bullet or something?
Well, if the engine's dead, if the generator itself is dead and fails for some reason, if you have an engine fire, whatever, yeah.
Then, is the green the afterburner?
Underneath, yeah, that's the afterburner. Then you also have the oil pressure warning lamps, and then the other two, I think on the red on the right side, if I recall correctly, you have basically kind of your bingo light, which is going to tell you 550 liters remaining.
Okay.
And on the left side, it's going to say tank 1. When your tank 1 is completely empty, and tank 1 completely empty means you're completely dry.
Wow, that's going to be fun. Okay, oil. Is that low oil?
Yeah, low oil pressure.
What were the red ones? Is that what you just said? The lower.
Yeah, the red bottom ones. Yeah, that's your bingo and completely dry.
Okay.
You'll say.
Low pressure hydraulics. So if there's low pressure in the hydraulics because they're leaking, then you've got red light for that. Super duper. Right, volts top right. Yep, easy. Hang on, you got volts. Yeah. Oh, and the other one's for the radar, isn't it? Right. Okay. We've got. Let Cap do this.
Yeah, so these volts are for your battery, or if you have that on ground power.
System. Yeah. Next is I'm gonna say ambient to cockpit pressure differential. Am I right?
That and the internal, it's the cabin altitude on the top and the blue thing.
Oh.
So basically what outside altitude the current cabin pressure relates to. And then you have the difference between the pressures in kilograms per square centimeter and on the bottom. So it goes from +6 to -0.04, because honestly there's not really a good reason to go to the minus anyway.
Right. And therefore you know what this gauge is, bearing in mind that we've got two different instruments in here.
It must be a variometer.
It must be a variometer. Okay. South. I can't read the writing, so I can't even guess. So go ahead.
This gauge basically shows you the current stage of dilution of oxygen. So just shows you oxygen dilution system is working properly.
Okay, fine. Right, next is a whole panel I would consider completely superfluous. It's going to be boring stuff. So let's have a look. What are these gauges, Charles? Oh, it says sugar. Emergency something. Deploy.
You see on the carriage, so it's your emergency gear extension pneumatic pressure and the valve that goes with that right next to it.
Okay, I take it back. This is actually quite useful. Right, so that's the air pressure that we've got to lower our gear, and that's how we do it. Oh my god, I pressed it. And I'm all out of gas. I'm all out of thing now. Okay, so that's that. Next, main hydraulic system pressure. Main hydraulic system pressure. Didn't we have another one of these somewhere? No, that was something else.
No, we had booster hydraulics pressure.
Booster hydraulic.
Yeah, that's at the very bottom of your crotch panel.
Joy, yeah.
For reference, they should both be the same, a standard 142 kilograms per square centimeter. Because they're running at the same hydraulics pressure.
Right, so they are separate systems, right. Flaps, emergency deploy, so, so if you need to deploy flaps, meow, fine.
And also the pneumatic gauge to go with that, and the last thing is your main pneumatic system.
And look at that baby drop. Right, main pneumatic system. So what? No, let's just not even go there. Right, beautiful shot. Next, back up. We've got Canopy emergency jettison. So is that just gonna unlock it, or
No, it just
Explosives?
actually jettisons the canopy with explosives.
Wow. Okay, cool.
So
Right.
you could use that, for example, if you're about to crash land somewhere in the field.
Get rid of it.
You know, all the canopy material around you is actually potentially dangerous. It could, throw off splinters and stuff, and shrapnel, and you can just jettison that in advance. Also makes it easier to quickly get out of the aircraft.
Well, that's what I thought. I think it's more the danger that if you crash land, you're probably going to bend that A-frame, and you won't be able to open the canopy.
Yeah, and then if there's like an engine fire or something like that, so it's better to just jettison that shit in advance and things.
Roger. Right. Switches. So we're just going to go through them. Emergency radio. So is what it is. Emergency radio power. Is that?
Yeah, so you also use that not only in emergencies, but if you're just powering up and you want to call in to the tower and request startup, then you would need that because that runs off the battery, and since your generators aren't up yet, it's the only option.
Fine.
Same goes with the emergency AGI switch next to it.
Just remind me what the AGI is.
It's the ADI actually, as far as I know, which I'm frankly not sure why we'd need that during startup, but I guess it's just a backup in case your generators fail and you're still gliding or something and you couldn't.
We've got main radio electric power, fine. We've got beacon and radio altimeter. No, did you where what? Wait, it says by beacon. I've tried to investigate that and I couldn't find anything.
That's your marker beacon receiver.
Okay, that was easy. Next, we've got our elevator electric power, because remember we've got redundancy elevator, haven't we?
Yeah,
electric.
Yeah, that's actually the redundancy system, not the actual.
Yeah,
not the actual.
Agree. Right, next we've got trim system electric power, and we've already been over there in that corner, so that's fine. We've got the GIK, so this is the compass and ADI.
Yeah, main power, yeah.
Yeah. We've got the pitot heat, so that's probably going to be, obvious.
And backup pitot heat.
And backup pitot heat. And we've got the battery, left generator, right generator. This is the site heating. For some reason this site needs a heating. I don't know why, but it does. The site itself, so we've now got a site on. Out of interest, can we change our depression? No, it doesn't work. So go suck a lemon. We've got
Isenbrod is your radar power.
Radar.
Then is your rocket and missile power, and your left and right gun power.
And cockpit gun camera not modelled, and nose gun camera not modelled. Cool, we're getting there, Charles. Next, ADF panel. I've done a full video about this, but I guess we'll blast over it quickly. Do you want...
you forgot the right floodlights, important.
Oh, there's a right floodlight. Next is the ADF...
and the knobs to go with the floodlights.
Already shown these, but okay. There is the right nod, and there is the left one. ADF panel, caps time to shine. Do we want, get this, Charles, telegraphy mode, TLG, where we are...
Not telegraphy.
It's telegraphy. It says in the manual. Hang on.
And then they misspell it as telegraphy.
Like
a telegraph pole or something like that.
Okay, fine. Telegraphy mode, which, Starl, you probably won't know this, but it's for handling unmodulated NDB signals. Yeah, I said it, unmodulated NDB signals. And TLF is for handling modulated NDB signals, which is what you'll find here in the boxes. Thank you very much. I'll be here all night. If you want to change the bandwidth, then there's your bandwidth. For some reason these won't work at the moment, probably because I haven't got the engines on or something.
I don't think it's the bandwidth, although it would be nice if you could select the bandwidth.
It's the bandwidth, Charles. It's the bandwidth. Look.
Just the band. This is not internet. This is all pre-internet.
Oh, okay, fine. It's the band selector, not the bandwidth. Tuning knob when you want to fine tune. Obviously, nothing works at the moment with the engine off. We've got the lighting for the panel, which doesn't seem to work. We've got the volume for the beep 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 Morse code. We've got master mode. We want it off, compass, antenna, or loop. And loop, Charles. I've read about it now. It's for checking. It's
check the quality of your
quality
connection.
of the signal by bending your antenna left, bend it right. It doesn't work in this plane, by the way. I've tried it. Well, at the moment. And yeah, you can move your antenna and then check your quality. So you thought it was for direction finding, didn't you? Didn't you, you crazy Austrian?
No, not really.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Right. Anyway, it's checking your signal. There's your signal strength meter and boost done. Right. Cockpit ventilation.
You forgot the on-off light. It's important. The green thing in the middle.
Oh, yeah, that's power, isn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't actually found the switch which turns that power on, by the way. I can't find it.
Just set it to anything that's not off.
Oh, so that's what does it. Super gap. Right, I thought it was one of the master switches that turned it on and off. That will be my confusion. Right, let's push along, guys. Cockpit ventilation. Silly question. What the hell is that? Is that literally just letting air in? Must be, mustn't it?
Yeah, for the ambient air in the cockpit. You generally use bleed air from the engines for that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Because it's already warm, and then the question is how do you mix it? How do you dilute it? And cold just makes it colder, hot makes it hotter, and auto makes it stay on the last.
Roger. I've only got open and close here, by the way, Charles. So I don't know why you were saying all that stuff. But okay.
What are you opening and closing?
The cockpit ventilation.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
Up and
I was talking about the switch in front then.
Okay. Up and right. We've got something. I struggle to look. IFF obviously is not modelled, so we're not even going to go into it. But it's there. A button.
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. There's just an on and off switch on the right, underneath the yellow cover, and the self-destruct button underneath the red cover, and a light that goes with the self-destruct.
Here's the bell for the beacon. Bell, ding, ding, ding. And finally, we get to the end almost, unless there's any HUD stuff, and there isn't. So we've got the end panel. Have you looked? Does any of this stuff do stuff?
It should, in principle, like turn off power to some of the main.
There's the arc switch. I've been looking for that everywhere. Finally, I found it. The arc 5 switch for the ADF. And now if I turn that on, it still works. Oh well. Okay.
You're aware that there's also an arc power switch on the right side panel on the front.
No, I'm not, and there isn't because I've looked. So there just isn't, Char.
I think it goes with.
Good
Actually,
luck.
there isn't. You're right.
Good luck with that.
It's just the emergency power is there. Yeah.
Anyway, let's carry on. Gear brake signal. What the hell? Do any of this shit do things? Do you know in back? Because I've not found in the manual anything here that actually works.
It doesn't look like it from what I see. The gear brake signal should turn off the lights on the gear and flaps and air brake panel. But flipping it down doesn't actually seem to do anything.
And the ADF doesn't work. We're pretty sure that these don't do anything. Whether they will do something.
I mean, they might in the future though, so we can quickly go over it. It's just lights, external lights specifically in top left. ARU, the sensitivity system for the elevator.
Yeah.
Bomb's arm, just can't arm bombs anymore if you turn it off, and your general bomb jettison system. Then emergency bomb and drop tank jettison systems, your radio compass, the lights for your gears, flaps, and air brakes. Then the actual power for your gear flaps, air brakes, and your brake chute. Then your boosters power and your rocket arm and light power.
Roger. Unfortunately, I can't see the top row, but we'll take your word for that. That's fine. Right. Super. That's.
I think we missed a little thing that I was talking about while you were talking about something else earlier. Directly underneath the ADF, where you have your cockpit pressurization and cockpit heating.
Hello, little monkey. Right. Oh, so here's what you were gibbering on about then. So whether when you cockpit heating, auto, cold, or hot, fine. Doesn't really matter, does it? We're made of ones and zeros at the end of the day. And pressurization lever? Question mark.
Yeah, just cockpit pressurization is all.
Okay, that's that. Right, that's that. We're going to have ejection pull somewhere. Do we have an ejection system? We must have, mustn't we? Must have.
We do. Not entirely sure how you'd actually activate that.
It must be. It'll be the red thing at the top. I bet you.
Possibly, although it seems uncomfortable to do that like that.
No, I think this was in the days where they were trying to stop people breaking their spines in half when ejecting, so they'd have to put their head back, put their arms up, and kind of pull it over them, over their heads to ensure good posture, or it was something like that. But anyway, a long time ago.
Well, we could quickly look at the stick as well, although you can't directly click that. You'd have to keybind all of it.
Brake.
But it has the trigger in the front, the big lever is a brake, then you have a vertical trimmer for the elevator. And the other two buttons are what I talked about before, your dogfight cage for the gun sight, and just an air brake hold button.
Oh, air brake hold. Ah, that would explain why I can't get the air brake working, because you have to hold it. Right, air brake hold.
Well, there's both actually. You have a toggle switch on the throttle.
This doesn't work.
I would love. It does.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I've tried that. It just doesn't work, Star.
Well, it does work for me. It's speed brake switch cycle. That's what I use. You don't have a speed brake in and speed brake out separately, sadly, which kind of annoys me because the way I use things, I usually do that. But
yeah, I'd agree. But that's the way it goes. Right. That's pretty good. It's a nice cockpit. It takes a bit getting used to because it's Russian at the end of the day, but pretty happy with that. Anything you want to add to that, Stuart?
You know.
I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you later.